I have a bad hip that's going to be replaced in about, I guess, less than 30 days now. So next year I'll be dancing here. So as a small group, please don't hesitate to interrupt and ask questions. The whole idea here. Okay. Well, there we go.
It always takes like 3 seconds with delay. Just press more. Just other presenters that trap.
Okay.
Hang on 1 second. We're working on it.
Yep. Okay. No.
It's loading. Give it 1 second.
Loading.
Processing.
Okay. So, just first of all, who am I? Basically, I'm president of HarperVision Associates. I'm a senior consultant to major investment banks in the United States and abroad. And I'm also CTO of something called Gateway, which is, I'll explain in a minute. But I've had a large experience in broadcast. I was WGY-TV. I did TV here in Europe, did TV all in Canada, United States, developed technology at ACTV. I have a number of patents on that area. Was part of the team that created Windows Media. So it was sort of the beginning of all the streaming stuff, et cetera. And senior advisor to a company called Transworld Entertainment. That's a company that most people probably don't know. I just realized I have a prop in here, so I'm going to grab my prop. At Transworld, we operated 2,500 retail locations selling video and audio, CDs, DVDs, etc. And in talking about all of this, one of the things is I've created a fully functional multi-node IPMX-based node facility in New York City. Instead of just reading about it and writing about it, we've actually done it. We've built it with help with Matrox and Jean Lapierre in particular, who's spent many nights with me trying to figure out why it works or doesn't work. But the idea was I'm a guy who likes to actually touch things and feel things and see it actually happening. It's very different when you're working in just theoretical. So I go back to 30 years from now. I thought I'd just pick a random number. And I was at the Consumer Electronics Show, and I saw this device. And this is a camcorder. Now, 30 years ago, JVC was the king of VHS. Digital didn't exist. And I got this thing, and I went, oh, it's kind of cool. And I took some pictures. And at that time, I owned a video production company. I had 5 studios, one in LA, one in New York, one in Midtown New York, and 3 down on Wall Street. 4 big online edit suites, 1-inch machines, Betacam, SP, millions of dollars worth of stuff. And walked in and I saw this little thing. I said, wait a minute, what's this? And it's a toy. And I took some video with it, and I went, well, actually, the video's pretty good. It works. So I went to NAB shortly thereafter, and this was at CES, and I went to Sony, and I said, hey, guys, what are you going to do about this? They said, no, it's a toy. No one's going to do it. No. You got to stay with the big iron, and you're a broadcaster. You know that better. You can't possibly do this. And I went, interesting. And I said, I've got all these millions of dollars worth of equipment I'm on personal lease for. Maybe it's a time to sell my company. So sure enough, I put my company up for sale. I sold it. And the company kept on going for about 3 or 4 years. I replicated the video editing system on a Mac for a fraction of the cost. And of course, we all know what happened. Digital came along, and of course, Sony adopted the DV format, and then of course all the other digital things. So I basically was looking at the future, and I think we're at the same point right now in digital and IP. So we have 2110. Which is a really great system if you're a broadcaster. But what happens if you're not a broadcaster, and can you use this technology? And is it a toy like this, or is it real? And so we set out to figure out what the story was here. So Basically, I have a space at the Swedish-American Chamber of Commerce. I'm not Swedish, but they needed technology. I needed space. We made a deal. And we have 20,000 square feet in Midtown Manhattan. And it was a space for Scandinavian companies to come and have a place to work. But I then worked with, actually now 87, I couldn't believe it, AV broadcast vendors to put together technology so that I can evaluate and test it. But the same token, take a look and see where it's going in the future. So it's real. In other words, this is not a trade show. This is day-to-day people using it on a daily basis. And so we've created a lab, but it's also an operating facility. So, I mean, you all know this, but you know, IPMX is based on 2110, and 2110 is a very rich format. But in Pro AV, we don't have house sync. We just had a talk about this before. You know, we don't know about that in the Pro AV world. And computer outputs, we'll all have laptops. We bring them in, and what can you do if you have a situation like that? Can you use 2110? You can, but you got to put interface boxes everywhere, and then you got to lock it all together, and now you're building a broadcast facility. And what people want to do, they want to bring their laptop and plug it in and make it work. They want to bring in a DVD or a play, actually have it happen. So the other big issue is color space. If you're working in broadcast and you're at 422, not 420, sorry, there should be a mistake there. If you're working in broadcast at 422, you don't really care about that because you're going onto a TV, it's broadcast. But if you're now feeding a video wall that's 100 feet wide, or you're running computer graphics and you're sending stuff with high resolution images and you're coming out of a GPU from a laptop, all of a sudden 444 becomes kind of important. And yes, 444 is part of the standard for 2110, but no one builds that product because it's built for the broadcast industry, and we're not in the broadcast industry. So how does this actually make sense? And then, of course, there are other things like HDCP. So what happens when someone comes in with a piece of content and they want to play it? Try to run that through 2110. Good luck. And then you hook on to edits. And you want to have, you want to connect it up and connect it to a monitor. Well, in broadcast, we know what the aspect ratio is and all the rest. Not so in AV. You know, we might have a 21:9 monitor. We might have it 5K. We might have different things. So all of a sudden, all these things start creating challenges, which is why when IPMX came along, it was like, whoa, this is a very interesting solution. So basically 2110 is sort of a SDI replacement. That's what people have been using it for. And I'm certainly doing that in other locations, not in my own space. And it's all locked to PTP, and you know, it works great. But not so much things that you know, you have issues of different bit rates. You have RGB versus YUV. Those are things that are in the standard, but are not necessarily things that I'm going to find in the AV space. So what we've done is we're not reinventing things. You know, it's 2110 is the basis, but we're adding. I would call it a super format on top of 2110, and we now have RGB non-broadcast resolutions. We now we do need NMOS, of course, because if you don't have NMOS, you can't control it all. But you don't have to have it very complex. You now have HDCP, EDIT, and we can start doing things that are available for an AV, and like KVM control, for example. That's stuff that you wouldn't normally have in a broadcast environment. We can also do compressed, because if I'm building a broadcast plant and I can put in, you know, gazillion-dollar Arista switches and the rest, that's one thing. But if I'm in a corporate environment, do I really want to put that in? I mean, maybe if I'm doing a broadcast facility in there, but if I'm running monitors everywhere, wouldn't it be nice if it were on a 1 gig network or a 2.5 gigs network or something of that nature? But I still need low latency, and you know, again, I don't have a clock. I can't, in my office, go stick a GPS antenna on the roof and make it work. So, so what we have at Gateway is, we said, well, let's see if we can put this together. So we have both uncompressed and compressed. So we have the same signal coming compressed, uncompressed. We have stuff with HDCP. So we actually can set that around. You can actually send that HDCP content using NMOS, and I can say, okay, send it to that Sony TV. It's going to work because it accepts HDCP, but I want to send it to the planar video wall. Well, that's not an HDCP compliant device. It won't work. We had just had the previous boat ride, we had to talk about AS67. We are interfacing with AS67, so we have AS67 running through it. Daisy chaining. So redundant paths. So in 2110, of course, we have the red-blue network, but here Matrox has put together this daisy chaining concept. So it can go this way or it can go that way. So if you cut one of the cables, guess what? It still works. So we have a lot of the features that we want to see in the 2110 resiliency that that handles the redundancy. Also, we want to be able to plug something in and not have to worry about specifying it. Plug it in and says, what is this input? Oh, this is X, Y, or Z. It's a RGB format as opposed to YUV. It has the following resolutions. Again, the technology does that. And so we have an LED wall which we're running at 444. So it's a 3 megapixel and a nanolumens wall. But we also have broadcast signals. Again, why says 420? I don't know why. Anyway, broadcast signals at 422. So we have cameras and because we have event going on. Again, we're using affordable switches. We're using the Pro AV line from Netgear, and it works beautifully. So it's a pretty cool little system. So that is the objective to see, does it all work? That was the question. Can we actually make this work? And can non-broadcast people, non-engineers, interns basically go in, take a laptop, plug it in, and have it work? Hook up a video source from an Apple TV or Black Magic, $400 switcher and make it feed it. Will it work? And the good news is the answer is yes. Here is a picture. I can't take credit for this because Jean actually drew this for me. But to give you an idea of what's happening, so these are all the devices. There actually are 2 video walls now. That's the planar. Actually, there are 3 to be actually really precise. So what we have is a combination of different things. The network, first of all, it's Netgear switches. It's a 100 gig backbone. There's 10 gig out for some of these feeds, and there's 25 gig going in other ones. So it's optical or fiber or copper. So the event space, we have Panasonic cameras. They're UE100 cameras. They're coming out at full resolution. We're putting them out, and they're going to the network they're going on fiber. We have as a cart. It's really a small production switcher, so it has production switching capability. We have other devices going in my lab, which are other cameras. This is sort of the schematic of it, but in fact, there are probably close to 40 some devices on this network that are running around. So it's hard to put it all in the same thing. In my lab here, we have 4 Sony professional monitors with HDR, and we can route anything we want to that. Plus, we have an LED wall, and I'll show you some pictures of it in a minute. And then we have on my desk, so I have. There are a lot of devices. And somebody counted that I had 34 cameras in my lab, in my office. That's not the whole facility. So there's a lot of stuff running around there. And of course, we have, there's also running SDI. To compare all of this, we actually there are 4 networks running. So, because I want to compare 2110, IPMX, NDI, and other things. So there's one, and I use the prefix, the numbers. So the 192 network is a 1 gig standard off of Cisco Meraki. It's just basically, for your Wi-Fi and the Zoom rooms, etc. The second network is the 10.10 network. They're obviously all VLANs, and that's a 10 gig network, and that's running NDI and Dante, and so I can now see what Dante looks like. The third network is the 2525 network, which is a 100 gig backbone, and that's where all the IPMX stuff is running. And then the fourth network is the 172 network, and that network is actually a proprietary system that running a QSC system. So it's a closed loop, so it doesn't really operate anything, but to see, how does that work in that environment. So all those networks are running. Plus, of course, there's also a full HDSDI network, traditional 4 gig HDSDI. So I can compare, looking at it coming out of HDSDI, coming out of the camera directly. I can look at it on NDI. I can look at it on IPMX. I can look at it on the some of these other, the NDI or the other networks. I can look at all these things, and I can compare them, and I can route anything that I want to anything else. Very interesting when you do that, by the way. So what we have here, this is the NMOS. This is just one of the panels. So we're using the Matrox the Matrox. Thank you, Conduct IP. Conduct IP. So this is just one of the pages. You can see there are different pages up here that have different parts of the room. So we can segregate who's running to what. So I don't want people in my event space messing with what's happening in my lab, or my lab messing up the event space, and vice versa. We have different capabilities here. So basically, I have a series of sources up here, and then destinations. And those destinations are going to, and then here's a picture of it. So there are these four Matrox boxes are driving 4 monitors. And so they're daisy chaining. They're being both optical and copper connections between them. And then these are some sources that are going in. These are some of the multiple cameras I'm talking about. And I'm able to very quickly go in here and there we go. So that's an example of the wall. So those are the 4 monitors. So this one here is right now is showing HDCP content. This one is showing the output from a laptop, just plugging it in. And these two are actually synchronous with each other. And those are 2 separate forces coming from a media server, which is also driving a video wall, etc. And I can route anything to anywhere on here. And then you can switch around and see what you want on it. So that's an example of how that works. And then if I go over here, so this is the rest of my lab, and as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. So it's Matrox IPMX routing. There are actually 32 cameras, I guess. Planar color light, that's the planar wall right over there, LED wall. Sony HDR monitors, D10 dual screen. Now that I've not figured out how to get IPMX into there yet. I really love to see some monitors with direct Ethernet connections into it. You have, there is another view, you can't really see it here, but I've got LG magnet, which is their LED wall. It's a 0.9. I also have I've got, obviously the things like Crew, Logitech, Rally Bar Pro, etc. And all those sources can be, I can route some of that stuff into this IPMX network. So I can intermix AV type gear with broadcast gear. There's a megapixel Ventana system now that is also bringing in content, and that's a 0.87 pitch thing. And then bunches of cameras, audio, Odessia, for Yamaha, Salomon. I mean, there's, as you can see, a lot of stuff. And then here's another picture of the lab here, and you can see what's going on. So here is the rack with. That's the color light processor. So we just plug Ethernet right into there. That's the megapixel processor with this little routing switch, and then a whole bunch of encoders here for getting signals out. And then that is the Ventana. That's over here is the magnet, and then all these other monitors are things. And of course, there's pro capabilities. There's a TriCaster. There is Panasonic control, Blackmagic, and even down here are broadcast cameras. I need to use them. So it gives you an idea. But we also are using this to talk to other spaces in the thing. So in this is the boardroom. We have a 32-foot, 32 by 9, 16-foot LED wall that's driven by megapixel. That's also now, of course, on the network. We have an Barco E2 processor. So we're taking the output of the E2 processor and putting it into encoders. We're shipping that around. We have this content here is coming from Immersive Studio Design. That is a server that has a 100 gig output on that goes into the network, and I can put that out. That's actually coming out 2110. There's a 7-camera Crestron One Beyond system in there, so the multiple cameras will switch, so this is Crestron automatic switching. Then the microphones, audio processing, MTR, Zoom rooms, ClickShare, all of this can be switched around easily. Right now we're using this a Stream Deck to switch things here, so that's just a control. It controls a little PC. It's driving the Barco E2. But again, that is the type of stuff we want to run on IPMX, and as we keep on going on it. So this is a real AV environment, and it's running every single day. It's not like we set it up for one thing. We actually use it every single day. And there's another room here that's the event space. And then here's an example. This is a 21:9 touch screen. That's a regular 16:9 screen. We have LED lighting in here, projection. That's the event space, and there are cameras in there. We have another room with another LED wall. That is a Barco. That's a 21:9 wall. Again, those are the things that you just don't do that in the world of 2110. You have all this capability. Without IPMX, this would never happen. Then there are other conference rooms around the space. There's a front lobby and other screens of different types and all different forms. So, anyway, that's basically what we're doing here. This is what the back room looks like. There's your Netgear switch, processing. There's a whole Blackmagic switching here. Those are the servers that are driving some of this content, and we are running to the end. So the partners today, obviously, there's Matrox, Netgear Pro AV is involved in this, Color Light Planar, Megapixel with nanolumens, Barco, and we have some Barco products that I can't talk about yet that are exactly accepting full video coming in, Immersive Studio Design, which is the server, and then the party is coming up for Evertz wants to join, Plexus AV, and anybody else who has IPMX things that wants to come and join. It's an open forum. Come on in, look at interoperability, see how we can make it work. So thank you. Again, if anybody wants to join our sandbox and come and see it, it's in New York City. It's open all the time. Just let me know. Thank you.